Now, what are the elements of this technology which I believe are important? I believe, for example, that it's extremely important that we go to a point where every Indian has a mobile phone. And people say, oh my God, you mean everybody will have a mobile? Isn't that expensive? And I'll give you a simple example of why the mobile phone will not be expensive. Today, in our food distribution, in the PDS system, we are talking about giving 35 kilos of rice to a family every month at say 3 rupees a kilo. Let's say, the price of rice varies, but let's say for the sake of argument, the price of rice in the market is 15 rupees. The monthly subsidy for a family just on one item, which is food, as per the government, comes to 15, that is 12 rupees into 35 rupees. That's 420 rupees a month is the subsidy on food. 2 month subsidy is 840 rupees. A mobile phone costs 799 rupees, the cheapest phone. In other words, to put it on the same plate, the cost of a mobile phone to give to a poor person is equal to 2 months of subsidy on his food. And therefore, the whole thing just changes the equation. And therefore, we have to think very differently as to how do we use this unique situation where technology costs have gone down and capability has gone up, and how do we intersect that with the problems that we have. So one thing very clearly to my mind is how do we make sure everybody has a mobile phone is a very simple way of addressing it, because they're bound to get the benefits of having the mobile phone. The second part of it is what I do for a living these days, every day, which is how do we give every Indian a unique number. Now, may I ask, why is this guy going after some unique number when there are more important problems? We should have, more roads, or we should have more food, or we should have more this, and why is he going on and on about a number? But in some sense, I believe that that number is at the heart of how we change the way we deliver public services. The reason being that more and more, there are vast numbers of Indians who are excluded because they don't have a formal identity from the state. It is true of the homeless, it's true of migrants, it's true of tribals, many people. There are a few 100 million people, I estimate, in this country who don't have any form of identity. They don't have a birth certificate, so they have no way to prove their birth. In fact, they don't even know what is the date of birth. They don't have a school certificate because they haven't been to school. They don't have an address because they are homeless. And people who don't have a birth certificate, a school certificate, an address are non-persons to the system. The system does not acknowledge their existence because they have no way of proving who they are. And we're talking about hundreds and millions of people who have this problem. Why is this problem becoming worse? The problem is becoming because we have become, as the last Outlook said, we become a mobile republic. There was a time when you were born in a village, you lived in the village, you died in the village. So everybody in the village knew who you were, which was good and bad. Ambedkar talks about why it was bad, but anyway, you lived in the village. So you really required either a local identity, or you didn't even need an identity because everybody knew who you were. But today, India is a nation of migrants. We have 100 million migrants today who are traveling. And the challenge of migration is only going to go up. Why is it going to go up? There are many reasons for that. First, the relative difference in birth rates and fertility rates in different parts of India. The fertility rate of Kerala is 1/3 that of UP. 1/3. It's 1.8 to 4.8. The bulk, we are going to have this so-called demographic dividend, but the bulk of those births are going to happen in 6 or 7 states. In other words, we have a double, what I call as a demographic camel's double hump. Parts of India will start aging very soon. The south and the west of India have either reached, like Kerala has already reached, or will reach by 2015 replacement levels of fertility. The bulk of births in the next 20-25 years is going to be in 5 or 6 states. So you're going to have a situation where you're going to have a lot of population growth in some states and aging in some states. That's the first reason for migration, because there will be work to be done. So something like international migration, but domestically, there will be more work to be done in the south and the west. There will be less jobs in middle India, and there's going to be migration costs. And you're already seeing all that, and a lot of the political tensions that we face are because of that. The second reason has to do with climate change. Because as we face the challenge of climate change, a large part of the climate change will happen in the Indo-Gangetic Plain because of glaciers melting, rivers flooding, and you're seeing some of that already. That will also drive migration. The third reason has to do with male-female ratio disparities. Because of, if you look at many states in India today, the ratio of females to males is lower than 900. It's 877, for example, in some of the Punjab, Haryana belt. So that is driving, again, the migration of women for marriage and so forth. And so on and so forth. So and the fourth reason is that the coastal and southern and western part of India are much more globalized. They're connected to the global economy through ports and industry. And therefore they will have more jobs than a part of India which doesn't have infrastructure for, say, job creation. So whatever way you look at it, the 100 million people who are migrating today is going to go up. Maybe 200 million, maybe 300 million, maybe more. So Indians will become more and more mobile. They're going to be moving around, and you're already seeing that in front of you. But we don't have a way, so we have all these people who have no identity, which is alright in an era when they were static, when they lived in one particular village. But today when a young man from Chhattisgarh comes to Delhi, how does he have identity? How does he qualify for Delhi's public distribution system? How does he qualify to, how does he get a bank account? How does he get a mobile phone? How does he rent a house? He has no way to prove who he is. And therefore, you end up living on the margin of society. We talk about stock markets, banks, and so on. The total number of people in this country who participate in the stock markets cannot be more than 20 to 30 million. 2 to 3% of India's population participates in the activities of Dalal Street. The total number of people who pay taxes, maybe 50 million. 5% of India's population there. The total number of bank accounts, 200 million. Population, 1.2 billion. So whatever you look at it, all the world that you and I believe in, the total number of passports, approximately 50 million. So whatever way you look at it, the world that you inhabit, or people who have driver's license, the total number of driver's license may be 150 million. These are all approximate figures. So whatever way you look at it, the world that you inhabit, where people have a driver's license, people have a bank account, people have a credit card, people trade on stocks, people buy insurance policies, people have passports, is a very small part of the country. So there are a few 100 million people in this country who don't have any form of this. And they need that identity. And therefore, it becomes critical if you really want to create an inclusive society where everybody can participate, to give them that identity. And that's what the stuff that we do. Now the challenge of giving identity becomes, how do we give them an identity? How do we give them a number? And also, how do we make sure that the number is unique? The problem statement is very simple. Give every Indian a unique number. Now what that means is that if you come in and get a number, and then you come in again to get another number, I should reject that, because you should not get more than one number. The whole idea is unique number. But how do you do that for 1 billion people? How do you make sure that no matter if somebody has got a number, if they try to get a number again, how do you make sure they don't get a number? Now that's a massive challenge. That's what we call in our business as deduplication.